Cheers guys, Epix911, welcome to the Elitist Geek. In this video I'm going to do a recap of E3. For a guy who loves RPGs like me, this was a pretty damn good E3. And I'm usually not a huge on the hype of E3. Doesn't always do a lot for me, but you know, there's certain games, certain genres, and kind of all the stars align and you get some good games. And this was certainly one of those years. So I'm going to kind of talk about a few different companies that brought forth their games. And of course, the big three, Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony. Let's start with Square Enix. And before we get to the big one, they showed Just Cause 3. If you like open world sandbox games like I do, it's another type of gameplay that I really enjoy. GTA 5 was the most recent that I beat. Far Cry 4, and then technically GTA again on the PlayStation 4, and probably again on the PC. I love GTA 5. For some reason, to me, it just hit on all cylinders. The storyline, the characters. Can't get enough of Trevor, for sure. Kingdom Hearts 3. Wow. Finally, just finished ranting in a video a couple of days ago about intellectual property that sits and stagnates with certain companies, and you just wonder, guys, you got a fucking moneymaker here if you just made a sequel. And they don't. And anyways, it was nice to finally see Kingdom Hearts 3. They kind of teased a mobility version. You could tell the crowd wasn't into that. They were hoping for something more, and then when they finally delivered on Kingdom Hearts 3, the crowd went apeshit, as expected. It looked fantastic. It didn't look mind-blowing. It's a cel-shaded style game, right? The beauty of those types of games is they age well. If you play Kingdom Hearts 1 or 2 on EPSXE, the PlayStation 2 emulator, at 1080p, you'll see that even though the PlayStation 2 had such a low polygon count compared to the PCs and PS3, PS4s, and Xboxes that we have now, the cel shading just promotes longevity. It really does. And another area you can see that is take a look at a couple of games. You look at World of Warcraft with its cartoony graphics. And I find this with cartoon and cel shaded specifically, that they just age so gracefully. You can look at the primitive models in World of Warcraft, you know, pre-expansion even, the old world, and they still look acceptable. I won't say fantastic or mind-blowing, because that would be a lie, but they still look acceptable. Contrast, say, to EverQuest or Dark Age of Camelot, where they went for a more gritty, realistic look. And honestly, I loved EverQuest, played the shit out of it for about 3 years, was hopelessly addicted, but it literally looks like somebody barfed their pea soup up on the screen. It's fucking horrible. Textures are low res, and of course there's all kind of graphical enhancements and add-ons and for the interface. I get that. I'm just saying, natively, without any tweaks, cel shading and cartoon style graphics, in my opinion, just age better. And anyways, Kingdom Hearts 3 has that look. It's going to age well. Final Fantasy VII Remake. After the disappointment of last year's HD, the crowd went absolutely apeshit for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and so did I. I mean, it's such a seminal game in RPG history, and I've probably mentioned this in a video before, but I came really late to the console RPG party. The name of my channel comes from the fact, for anybody who doesn't know, that I was an elitist PC guy for the longest time. I played consoles when I was younger, and NES and SNES, because my little brother, who was 10 years younger than me, had them. But I was always about the Commodore, the Amiga, the Atari, you know, the early PCs in the 90s, VGA, etc., etc. I kind of turned my nose up at the consoles. And as a result, I missed a lot of fucking good gaming. And my best friend, who I've known since grade 4, constantly harped on me. Long story short, Final Fantasy VII was the third RPG in 2006 when he got me to try Final Fantasy XII on my PlayStation 3 backwards compatible model that I fell in love with. Then Chrono Trigger, and then Final Fantasy VII. So absolutely, when I now say I'm an RPG fan, I include the broad span of RPGs, from Western RPGs that were my favorite growing up and still probably my tops, but it also includes Japanese RPGs. So Final Fantasy VII, can't wait. Fucking fantastic. Super stoked about that. Now let's talk about Ubisoft. So Ubisoft comes up with Mass Effect. You couldn't tell a lot from the gameplay. I never really got off on the other Mass Effects. 1 for me was the game. 2 and 3 I felt, the little I did play, it was really dumbed down. And I like an intelligent RPG system. And I love itemization. I'm an itemization whore. The more variety of monsters, magic items, and gear and equipment that you have for me, the more crafting options, the more addicted I get to the game. I mean, it's a parallel ratio. It makes that much of a difference to me. If I can just farm a shit ton of items, or craft a bunch of items, or seemingly not find duplicate magic items, I'm happier than a pig in shit. I just love that. And Mass Effect 1 leaned way more towards that than 2 and 3. 2 and 3 really dumbed it down, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's see what that looks like. And then, of course, so we're talking about EA. Hopefully I didn't say Ubisoft. I skipped over them in my notes here. Let's finish with EA. So Mass Effect, a bunch of sports titles, and not going to harp on it. Those of you who know my videos know that I worked there. I bring it up quite a bit. And of course, what I started doing was software testing, and it was EA Sports games. And to this day, I cannot fucking play an EA Sports game without getting nauseous. My name proudly rests on the titles. Sure, you can find me in the end credits. But with that said, I harbor no love. And for those people who think software testing is about playing the game, you couldn't be more mistaken. It is the most boring, monotonous task on the planet. Okay, maybe not. You're still in front of a video game, but let's face it. Testing can be so morally draining and so suck the life out of a game that you love that you will not be able to finish the finished product, play the finished product, and enjoy it. And to this day, I can't. I mean, I'm unstoppable, whether it's NBA or FIFA or NHL, because I know the games that well. I can score from different angles. I know all the bugs still. I can crash the game. Doesn't matter what, PlayStation, PC. They're just so bad for me. So I'm not going to get into details. Forgive me, guys. But really, other than bros, how many people really get into the sports titles? And anybody who watches this is one of those people, I apologize, I'm not singling you out, but it's the bro crowd that tends to be, you know, the dude bros tend to be playing the sports titles. Need for Speed, I'd personally rather play Just Cause or GTA or Far Cry and drive around those vehicles, but that's just me. Unravel and Battlefront, really. Unravel I'll probably talk about again at a later date, but Battlefront, that amazed me. I mean, I'm thinking it used the Frostbite engine. I think that's what the name of it is. I could be mistaken, but it's aging well and it looks fantastic. So let's talk about Ubisoft. What got a bunch of laughs with South Park. And come on, I don't think you could have come up with a better title name than South Park Fractured Butthole, which of course is a play on butthole, arsehole, right? But Fractured Butthole. Anyways, I thought that was just a witty, awesome title. Looking forward to that. Played the first game, loved it. Little short, little too short for me. I think that would make a good mobile game, but on a console, I want something more substantial. I like my RPGs in the 20-hour minimum range. Preferably 40 plus, but that's me. Rainbow Six Siege looked also very good, as did Ghost Recon Wildlands. Now, those are games that I have always loved more than the Counter-Strike slash Doom slash Quake slash Unreal style games. I like the one-shot, one-kill tactical aspect of squad-based combat a lot better. And whether that's Ghost Recon, which is a bit more military flavor, or whether it's more tactical city-based scenarios like Rainbow Six, I love them pretty much equally. Play the shit out of them. Will play the shit out of them. Can't wait. Nintendo had Star Fox Zero, which I wouldn't say I'm against Nintendo. I love Nintendo. There's lots of Nintendo titles that I enjoy, but I got to be honest, Star Fox is not one of them. It's a title that I know got hyped a lot. I believe on the SNES with the Super FX chip. I think that's the one, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I'm pretty damn sure that the 3DS version that I played of Star Fox is based on that SNES one with some enhancements, if not more content. And I'm pretty damn sure I beat that game in about an hour. Thankfully, I bought it used. If I had bought that new and paid $40 for 1 hour's worth of entertainment, I would have been pretty pissed. And I personally didn't get any replayability out of it. So, to me, if you're going to make a game like that, you got to give some gameplay, right? 1 hour for the campaign, that's pretty damn pitiful. At least 8 to 10 hours for a shooter-style game, in my humble opinion. Your mileage and desires may vary. Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes. It's got a co-op element to it. Looks good. Looks like Zelda. 3DS is getting a lot of good games. We've got Bravely Second coming out. We have another Etrian Odyssey remake of 2 coming out, which I'm really looking forward to. And man, there's a shit ton of those Etrian games really released. The Persona Q, Mystery Dungeon. Playing Mystery Dungeon right now, really enjoying it. So that looks good. And then the one that I really liked that Nintendo had was the Super Mario Maker, which allows for the creation of 4 different visual level styles. It was SNES Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario World, and New Super Mario Brothers, I believe. But it looked really good. That's such a cool, logical concept. You would have thought they'd come out with that before. But, hey, better late than never. Definitely looks good. And then we had Sony, courtesy my old pal, Adam Boys, who I gotta admit does a really good job emceeing. We got to see Last Guardian, which looked great. Destiny expansion, The Taken King. More Destiny, if you like that. Would I say I regret having bought Destiny? Probably not. I got good gameplay out of it, but would I play another in the series? Unless it was substantially better, probably not. Just being honest. Throwing it out, guys. Throwing it out. Batman Arkham Knight, which is an open world game, that looked pretty damn good. So looking forward to that. And then we had the boys from Microsoft. We had Gears of War, which looks pretty damn good. Halo 5. I wouldn't say we expected it, but I had a feeling Halo 5 was going to be coming out one of these years. And so that's kind of nice to see. And what I really thought Microsoft nailed, and while I'm platform agnostic, and I've not been shy about that, as a gamer, because I was such an elitist snob, I now am really pro all consoles, pro all vendors. Money being really the defining factor in my console purchases. So I've got Xbox One, I've got a PlayStation 4, I've got a 3DS, and I've got a Vita. I don't have a Nintendo Wii U. I've got a Nintendo. I'll probably pick up a Wii U at some point. There's a couple of games like the Xenoblade Chronicles sequel that I'm looking forward to and would definitely play. But what I was going to say, what Microsoft really nailed is the backwards compatibility. To me, that's something that all consoles should have from launch. I think the 6 to 8 years between consoles is enough that with good programming, you could build software emulation in for your best titles. You know, whether that's a handful of RPGs, a handful of shooters, it can be done, okay? You can optimize emulation to the point that that is possible. So I don't totally buy the argument that, you know, Sony originally had with the PlayStation 3, which was fucking ludicrous, where the first version, the 60 gig, was basically a wet dream. It was awesome. It was hardware backwards compatible. Then it was limited hardware plus software for the 80 gig model, and then they ripped it out pretty much completely. And at some point, they probably could have gone with a software PS2 solution, but they didn't. So the next best thing that they could do is don't launch it with it. But when you start getting to that point, your break-even point, where you're starting to make a profit on your consoles, if you get your console to that point, I think you can reward the fan base with including software-based emulation. With all the pitfalls that that entails, right? Totally going into that with open eyes, realizing you're not going to get 100% compatibility, and even really with the hardware, you never did either on the 60 gig one. There were exceptions. So it doesn't have to be like my 80 gig was, which other than Soul Calibur 3 and crackling noise on Dragon Quest 8 works with all 48 of my PlayStation 2 titles. So no complaints there. So I thought that was a great move. I hope Sony follows suit. It's a pain in the ass. There are times where I still drag out my PlayStation 3, and to have multiple consoles constantly hooked up. It would be really nice if I could just have the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and be done with it. At least until such time as the PCs that we have are powerful enough to emulate a 360 and a PS3. But right now we're still at that PS2 level. PS3 is probably pretty close to being possible. So we'll see. So it was a really good E3 in terms of the RPGs. The last ones that I wanted to touch on, I kind of saved these for last, are my personal favorites. Bethesda Fallout 4, Nerdgasm. I cannot wait, guys. That just looks fantastic. Does it look state-of-the-art? Of course not. I'm not going to be trying to pretend that it was state-of-the-art graphics. But were they good? Absolutely. In fact, were they very good? Abso-fucking-smurfly. They were that good. More than good enough. And the tool set this time around, holy shit. Being able to, you know, rip stuff apart and, you know, build fortresses and attract merchants. I've always loved that aspect of kind of like the Rune Factory games where you've got a bit more of that social element, the RPG. Not full-on Harvest Moon, but more kind of that blend. Just include some of those social light elements into your gameplay. I really like that. I think that's cool. The fact that it's coming out in November is the shit. Definitely going to be at one of those midnight lineups. And like you see my Skyrim Dragon up there from the Collector's Edition, this boy's going to be lining up for Collector's Edition Fallout 4. You better fucking believe it. And Dark Souls 3. Wow. Of course, day one purchase without fucking hesitation. Kingsfield, I never got to experience the first time around. I've gone back to them. But the moment I started to play Dark Souls was the moment I was hooked on the series. Demon Souls. I played the shit out of Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, and Bloodborne. Beat them all. Have really high level characters, done a shit ton of crafting, lots of itemization, all the shit that I love. Hell yeah. Dark Souls 3, I'll be there. So there you have it, guys. A little longer than I intended. I know sometimes I tend to get a little long-winded with my stuff as I rant and rave like a lunatic, but hopefully that gives everybody a high-level shot, at least enough to kind of look up more details on things that you know, poked your curiosity. If you've been living under a rock and haven't been following E3 like I have every day, hopefully you'll find this video useful. As always, guys, one last thing, which finally arrived in the mail for me, is my Pillars of Eternity box. I was a little pissed off. Like, look at the condition, guys. You can see it's all fucking dented in here. You can see the side. Doesn't look so bad on film, but trust me, it's like, look at the side there. It's all bulged out. I'll show you guys what's inside real quick. Not going to make this a typical unboxing video. I'm going to keep the DVD case that's in there sealed because I've got the game digitally. Why not keep it sealed? And then the manual in there. So that's perfect. So old school. Love, what is it about the smell of game manuals? I don't know. It's got to be the world's stupidest habit. But I love me the fucking smell of a game manual or a D&D module or any kind of really new book. Fuck yeah, vintage. Anyways, you know, this is what it used to be like. We would buy an RPG and you would get a manual with it. And this one is 71 pages. You know, it's nice. And I'm a guy who's finally fully on board with ebooks. So I have no problem reading my novels on an ebook reader. But I gotta admit, when it comes to video games, I do like the old school manual. Here's the artwork. I'll show you guys from the back. So every action has a consequence. Discover the rich, magical world of Pillars of Eternity, brought to life by you, the fans. So it'll go up on my shelf. Like I said, a little pissed off that it was damaged in shipment. They didn't put it in a box. They put it in an envelope, essentially, with no real protection. But whatever. I'm happy I backed them. It was a good game. And I'd love to see more old school RPGs like that. There you have it, guys. Comments below. Let me know what stood out for you at E3. Are you an RPG fan like me? Or was there something else that tweaked your interest that maybe I missed? Because I tried to do a recap of all the bulleted points that popped out for me. So I may have missed a few things. Feel free to point those out. As always, guys, cheers until the next video.